Do we have like, have you seen those podcasts where they're like, hello, I am Callie.
Oh, yeah. Hello. You have to have the podcast voice.
You do. Okay, let's start it off. Hello, I am Callie.
I'm Lauren.
And this is the Book Common Room Podcast. Those make me laugh. Because I feel like we start very high pitched and like, hello.
I know, every time. Hi! It's so loud that it like hurts my ears sometimes when I do it. So I gotta be careful.
Lauren.
Yes?
You read this for the first time. Talk about your reactions. So let's just start with that.
Oh, you want mine? Okay.
Yeah, I have some questions, but before I get into the questions, what's your main reaction? How was it for you?
Main reaction, okay. Because I was like, I have lots of thoughts, but we can discuss them throughout.
Yes.
First reaction, I loved reading The Hunger Games. I was dreading it, like I've said. And I was like, I feel bad, but I'm not super excited reading this. And then I started reading it, and I was like, eating it up. I was like, I love this so much. Like, it was hard to put down. So
Yeah.
I loved reading Hunger Games. And I thought it was very worth it, despite it being a YA book series, and probably most people read this 10 years ago.
That's okay.
Anyways, loved it.
I have like some big things that I want to talk about that I have questions for you. So, to get this out of the way, who did you want Katniss to end up with?
Oh, 100% Peeta.
Why?
I think it was because Peeta could respect her decision to like go with Gale, but I also just like he made her feel so safe. Yeah. And I think Katniss needed that. Like the fact that she could like sleep and like not have nightmares around Peeta, I thought was so sweet. And I also just loved Peeta because he just was a good guy. Like he was watching out for Katniss the whole time. And even like when she was a young girl, like Peeta was always like this symbol of hope. I just loved that.
And then just like based on their character, you like Peeta more, but knowing that they represent different point of views of the world, does that change at all how you feel about the characters?
I feel like Peeta, like it's hard to know in Mockingjay because you're like not sure like how much is like him just like having like not enough information and what the Capitol is doing. So I didn't really agree with what Peeta was saying in the video where it was like, don't like this is gonna like stop what you're doing right now, look at what it's causing. Like I don't think that's actually what Peeta thought.
Yeah, when he was being tortured Capitol and changed.
Yeah. So, like, before all of that, I felt like Peeta was like, we need to do what's necessary to, like, create a better world.
Yeah.
And so I liked that. Whereas Gale, I could tell that there was going to be a much bigger sacrifice to get what he wanted at the end of everything. Because he just hates the Capitol so much.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Peeta and Katniss were able to meet people from the Capitol who they've lived a life of ignorance. So it's not their fault.
Yeah.
So they're almost just as, like, they are innocent, too, in a way. And so I liked that because Peeta was able to have that nuance, whereas Gale just kind of had blind rage for anyone that had to do with the Capitol.
Yeah, like he hated District 1 and District 2 because they were the careers and they had power, but they were also just victims.
Yeah, and like when like her like prep team were being like tortured, and Gale was like, I don't know what the big deal is. Like Gale,
Katniss is like, what do you mean?
What do you mean? Like that's horrible. Like we are treating these people like as they were treating me. I understand why Gale needed to be that person.
Yeah.
But in the end, I still really liked what Peeta would do for Katniss.
That scene where they tortured the prep team, I forgot that happened in the book.
Oh,
when I reread it, because in the movie they don't have the prep team. It's Effie.
Yeah, it's just
Effie
and Cinna are like it.
Well,
in Mockingjay.
In Mockingjay.
Yeah,
it's just like, Effie.
I was waiting for her to be there, and she was never there.
She just shows up at the end.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, because in the movie, when she's trying to like get all pretty for the cameras to make the propaganda for the rebellion, Effie shows up, but no, they get the prep team, and they were treated horribly. Like that scene where they're just in like a shower basically and like chained up. I was like,
and it smelled like pee.
Yeah, like pee. Well, yeah, because they didn't take him to go to the bathroom,
and they're like had like sores all over themselves. Yeah.
Because they were part of the Capitol, and the Capitol's the enemy, so it's okay to treat them like that.
And they weren't even supposed to find them.
No. Well, and
Plutarch didn't even know what was going on.
No. I liked how Katniss said that she recognizes why that Gale has this hatred for them, because at the beginning she also hated her prep team. But I feel like she almost viewed her prep team as like naive and ignorant, and I think that's why she was okay. That's why she was like, you can't hurt them. They don't know any better.
Yeah. But I liked that, like, Katniss, despite all the crap that she had gone through, more than Gale, understandably.
Oh my goodness, that line where Gale was like, you don't know how it is in the coal mines, it's horrible, after she had been through the Hunger Games.
Yeah. And like,
okay.
And like, I think the only thing, and Gale says this at the end, the only thing going for him was that he took care of her family.
Yeah.
Because like,
and then he killed Prim. He didn't even do it.
And okay, that's crazy, is like, Suzanne Collins did such a good job, because like in war, they would do stuff like that. Yeah. That was literally a tactic. They would throw over food in the trenches of the opposing team, like it's a game, the opposing side in war. And then they would throw bombs so people would come because they thought it was food. It was like the same kind of tactic Gale had.
Because
like,
that's what you do to snare animals.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's what's cool, is like the whole thing is like, he's a hunter. He's very smart with snares, but then it turns into this horrible weapon of war that Katniss literally watches firsthand. And what's horrible is she watches her sister die. Also, like, Gale would get so angry. And like so mad and like stomp off and not try to understand her.
Your cousin.
Yeah, but whereas like I feel like if Peeta heard Katniss like disagree or get like upset about something, he wouldn't get all moody and not try to understand her. And that was like a lot of the book is like Katniss wishing Gale understood what she's like trying to him.
Well, because Gale has been there. He's been her best friend her whole life.
I know.
After he has been taking care of her family. After her dad died and her mom was checked out and not there, Gale's family was the one that was there to help out. And like after they were starving, like making sure they had food and taught her how to make snares and like how to hunt. That was Gale. Yeah. After her dad died. Like he basically represented home.
Yeah. And I do think like part of us, I can imagine this being a thing. And I'm sure it probably is for like people with PTSD, but she like tries so hard to go back to the life she knew before the Hunger Games, which was like hunting with Gale. Yeah. And I think part of the reason in Catching Fire, she like makes the decision, she's like, I need Gale, not Peeta, is because Gale was that home before. And she needed stability of the past, because otherwise, like, I think it would be easy for anyone to be like Haymitch, who had literally nobody. Yeah. He like lost his whole family. Like, he lost everything. So there was nothing to be.
He had alcohol.
Yeah. And that never changes.
Nope.
Which
even
is
at the end.
Not even at the end. Like, he like, you never really come back from it. And so I think part of it is Katniss needed Gale because she needed that normalcy to come back to. Because it would be too much to have to say goodbye to him too. Yeah.
Like that scene where Gale goes to save Peeta in the third book and she thinks that they both died. She's freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
And because, if Gale's gone, then she's lost her home and she's lost her love. Yep. Because I think by that point she did love Peeta. I don't think Katniss really ever recognized what, like, love was. Until after the book series.
Because it's hard. I feel like she just didn't have the capacity for it.
No. She's trying to figure out how to save the world, man.
Yeah. Well, she's, like, just wants to keep her family alive. Yeah. And Peeta and Gale's family. Yeah. Like, when she's like, when we run away, it's going to be all of us and Haymitch. It just kept growing. It did. She didn't really have a capacity. And, like, it was kind of a letdown for me at the end of the book, but it was realistic to her character.
Yeah. My biggest critique is I thought the dialogue that came from the love triangle was annoying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I get why it was in there, but, like, the line where Gale... You already mentioned this, but it's like, you only loved me. Or no, the reason that you picked Peeta over me is because, like, he's sick and you have to save him and take care of him. And I'll never compete with that. I was like, hello? That is so stupid. Like, you're putting Peeta down because she didn't pick you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I know. Whereas like Peeta, he was annoyed because he believed Katniss was being authentic, which she was. She just didn't understand.
Yeah.
Like, and then in the later books, she realizes like that kiss was different, or like when I told him about the bread, this was different. But the thing is, it's so sad because Haymitch is like, oh, Peeta's got it. And she just was like, okay, like he's just naturally good at this, which he is. And that's the other thing too. Coin wanted to use Peeta because he's such a good orator. Like he's so good at
he made his own propaganda for himself and Katniss, them being married already and having a child.
Iconic.
But it's a lie.
Yeah.
They weren't married and they weren't having a kid. But because he said that, he's controlling the narrative and controlling the Capitol, so the Capitol then won't want the Hunger Games to happen.
Yeah, because Peeta had the foresight at the beginning of the book that he didn't want to be a piece in their game.
Yeah.
And they're both trying to use Peeta. And like Coin wanted Peeta more than she wanted Katniss, because she knew Katniss would be a problem.
Katniss would never think to do something like that, because she's like, it's not true. Why would I say something like that?
No. And that's like what Cinna was like, you just imagine you're talking to me. Because like otherwise she like shuts down.
Yeah.
But like it's just so sad though, because like Peeta genuinely loves Katniss and he's been in love with her. And when he told her he had been in love with her, but she was like, oh, we're doing it in front of the cameras.
I think part of her was genuinely in love with Peeta.
I think so too.
I think that's the only reason why she could fake it on the cameras, but I don't think she recognized that's what she was feeling.
And I think she also was like, we're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so, like...
because there were parts, too, where she convinced herself that Peeta was doing the same thing.
Yeah. And so, like, it was... like, I understand why Peeta was, like, upset.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, I thought you knew. I didn't know it was something you had to practice.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Because, like, I didn't need to, because that's how I genuinely feel. And so, like, that I understood why he was upset. But then, like... I don't know, like, I would get to the book and I was like, can they just, like, can Peeta just come back and hold her?
Please.
And they can just, like, not have nightmares together anymore.
Well, you know what's so sad? Even at the end of the third one, Peeta's not the same.
No.
He's a completely different person. They destroyed who he is.
So much that he was, like, he didn't even know, like, what his favorite things were.
No. And, like, yeah,
his whole family was dead.
Yeah, I know. Well, and, like, Katniss, like, tried to help build Peeta back, but he wasn't the same Peeta. He's totally different.
Oh, that's the other thing, too, is, like, all the people that helped Katniss become Katniss, like, their deaths are just so sad.
I know.
Like, I think of Madge, and she gave her the pin. And, like, she believed in Katniss and was Katniss's, like, only friend, and Katniss never really understood it. She was just, like, we weren't like the other girls talking about, like, dresses and stuff. We just were, like, trying to get through the day.
Yeah.
And, like, so, like, but, like, Madge loved Katniss. And then their whole family died. And, like, the governor, he was a pretty good guy, and that stinks. Then you learn about Peeta's dad. He was in love with Katniss's mom. Talked about how her dad would sing. And so Peeta knew about her dad singing, and then knew about her singing too, that the birds would stop.
Yeah.
And then, like, they all die. And he, like, brought cookies to her. And, like, it's just, like, all these people that are just, like, victims of war. No one's the same at the end. That was, like, one of my biggest things I wanted to talk about when we get to it, after we go through the questions. But, like, just how it ends is, like, so important, like, how she did it. And I think she did it so well.
Right. I agree. We will get there, because I also want to talk about that. Why do you think this book is so popular? This isn't, like, I would say it's a pretty unique concept, but there, again, just like any book out there, you could find, like, there's YA, dystopian.
Yeah.
There's so much of that. You've got Divergent, but Divergent isn't popular. Well, it was, but it's not anymore. Do you think this has stuck?
I think so, too. I don't know. I think it's like Hunger Games just has, like, there's a lot of things in Hunger Games that are just, like, timeless enough that's why I think when you're like, I think this will be the next classic, it can be, because it has, like, motifs and themes about human nature that just are always going to, like, last. Like, if she took themes from Greek mythology and, like, Greek stories, those things have lasted and have been recirculated. So I think there's that aspect of it, but I also just think, like, we have so many war movies, and we're gonna keep making war movies. War is, like, part of human nature.
Well, what does Plutarch say at the very end?
I was gonna talk about that.
He's like, Oh, shoot, what is it?
Maybe we'll actually learn from our mistakes, but probably not.
Probably not, because humans forget.
Yeah, and he was
I
like...
I want to find the line.
The thing, too, is, like, Katniss remembers him being, like, not even depressed when he was saying this. Mm-hmm. He was just in a good mood. And he was like, yay. Like, it ended well for us. And then it was, like... It's, like, right when he's taking her and Haymitch to District 12.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, after she killed Snow. Mm-hmm. And he's, like, in this chipper mood, and he's like, we probably won't. We'll probably have another war. And you're just like, oh, my gosh. How can someone, like, think that? Like,
right?
I don't know.
Hold on. I'm going to find it because...
I think it's good.
It's one of, like, my favorite things.
I think it was so important to have at the end.
Okay, I found it. I think this line is very important, so I'm going to read it. So,
yes, I think about this line all the time.
So the truth is, no one quite knows what to do with me anymore. This is Katniss's like thought process. The truth is, no one quite knows what to do with me now that the war's over. Although if anyone should spring up, Plutarch's sure they could find a role for me. Then Plutarch has a good laugh. It never seems to bother him when no one else appreciates his jokes. Mm-hmm. Are you preparing for another war, Plutarch? I ask. Oh, not now. Now we're in that sweet period where everyone agrees that our recent horror should never be repeated, he says. But collective thinking is usually short-lived. We're fickle, stupid beings with poor memories and a great gift for self-destruction. Although, who knows? Maybe this will be it, Katniss. But yeah, you never know. Mm-hmm. I like the we're fickle, stupid beings with poor memories.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Or just people have their own agendas, and then they stir up other people to think it's for a different reason.
Yeah.
So it's just... I don't know. I think about that part. We'll get into the ending more, like, as we go through these questions. But I felt like that is, like, a line that is, like, integral to the whole point of, like, Hunger Games.
Yeah. That one and the real or not real, I think, are, like, two huge lines that just stick out. Mm-hmm. I like what Suzanne Collins said. She was asked this question. Why is your book so popular? I kind of liked her answer. She said, possibly because the themes are universal. Yeah. War is a magnet. You said this. War is a magnet for difficult issues. In the Hunger Games, you have vast inequality of wealth, destruction of the planet, political struggles. War is a media event, human rights abuses, propaganda, and a whole lot of other elements that affect human beings wherever they live. I think the story might tap into the anxiety a lot of people feel about the future right now. Mm. But that all of those things have just always happened. I think it's something that we're always going to care about too. We're always going to care about, like, inequality of wealth, the planet, political, war, human rights, propaganda. You go to really any time period and that is there. Mm-hmm. And why does war start? It's usually one of those.
Yeah. Or, like, resources, or, yeah.
So, my next question. How do you feel about Katniss killing Coin in the end?
Oh, like, I think she came to the realization really fast for Katniss. Yeah. Because Katniss has to think things through for a while. Mm-hmm.
That was one thing that I get why she did it, but I was like, you kind of have to have the suspension of disbelief where whatever Katniss is thinking is just right. Because you never really find out if it was true or not. Like, if Coin was the one to send the bombs out. Mm-hmm. But because she had to, like, trust Snow to be telling her the truth that it was Coin and not him. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of trust Katniss's voice. Mm-hmm. Which I'm just going to. Yeah. Because that, you just need to for the story.
It's true. So, like, I thought about that part and I was like, dang, she, like, came up with a response really fast for being Katniss.
I also think that's a character arc, too. Like, she now knows. Mm-hmm. She's been on the other side of the war.
I think what was crazy was Snow helped her figure it out.
Yeah.
Because Coin was in it for the long game, clearly. She had been doing things for years and years and years because she wanted to be president eventually.
Yeah.
Sure, she made it so people didn't go hungry. They ate exactly the amount that they needed, put them to work so they had something to do.
Yeah.
They were able to, like, they're arguably her way of functioning, it was still not great because people didn't have their agency, really. But it was better than what the Capitol was doing to the districts. But so, like, I think that was, like, it was like a handoff. And I think Katniss was able, because of Snow, to realize, why would I trade one oppressive government for another? And she saw Coin as more of a problem because she knew Snow was dying.
Yeah.
So she was like, we need to kill Coin.
I also think the arena is a huge part of it. Like, we can't have a free world if the arena exists. And even though the arena is going to be for the capital children, it still exists. And no one is free if there's an arena. But what do you think about just like her killing her? Because she could have been like, talked to Plutarch and Haymitch and been like, I have this theory that Coin is bad and this is bad and doing this, and I'm going to vote no when she asked to like have the capital like put the capital kids in the arena. Why did she just kill her?
I know.
Why did she talk about it?
I think it was just way easier. Katniss, you already know her. She's not gonna like. She's tried talking to people, and it's taken way too long to get anywhere. So she was like, I think it was a huge step. She just killed someone that like.
Because killing someone, that's a big thing.
For Katniss,
she's killed before, and it's all been in self-defense and survival. This, I feel like, is different.
That was like a straight up kill.
That was like a murder.
I know, really. It's like, I think, and she knew it. She was like, I'm probably gonna die, and if I don't, I'm gonna let myself die. And I think if that was like my mentality afterwards, maybe I probably would have done the same thing, because like she knew Coin was going to be a major problem. So I think she just like took it into her own hands. I'm sure Haymitch and Plutarch already knew. Yeah. But they couldn't, I didn't think they had the guts to kill her.
Well, I also think Haymitch trusted Katniss. I can tell she's planning something, and I'm just going to go along with it.
That's why they voted for the arena.
Because Haymitch was like, I'm with the Mockingjay.
Yeah, because Peeta was like, no way. But the thing is, like, Katniss knew. That part was so intriguing. Was that in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's in the
because
movie.
I was like, that part is like so important to the story, I think. Because she like figured it out. And also like, oh, that part too, like, never made sense to me. I can tell, like, with you bringing up the just war theory, I can tell Coin is, like, practicing that. Yeah. Publicly. She's, like, everyone is calling for the death of, like, the genocide of the capital. And she's like, we can't sustain that loss of life, so to appease everybody, we'll just take capital children and do one last Hunger Games. Girl, no! Like, if you're like going to be the president, you just tell those people, be like, no, like, we don't need to go after the capital.
We just want a war to get rid of that.
We just need, otherwise we become just like them. There's innocence on both sides. If you have an issue with it, like, this is what you have to deal with. You don't put children of the capital in the games. There were so many ways.
Even though the capital was the enemy, that doesn't. They're still human.
There were so many ways you could have gone about it and just been like, I don't care if they're calling for the death of the capital. If you're going to be in a position of power, you need to use your words and tell the people, no, this is what we just fought against. Yeah. So, anyways, that part was crazy, and so Katniss handled it so well. I was like, dang, girl. You're 17.
Other thing that kind of ticked me off to how corrupt Coin was when Katniss asked, like, oh, are you the president now or something? I don't know if it was Katniss or who else, but Katniss was in the room, and her answer was, I'm an interim president until the people are ready to cast a vote. Yep. So who knows how long she would have waited until she decided that the people were ready to vote. She started to realize, like, how similar Coin was to Snow in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and so, like, that part when Snow, like, talked about it, I was like, oh, that's so true. Like, and she was like, okay, Coin the problem. Yeah. It literally, that conversation with Snow, she wasn't even supposed to have. Like, she didn't know he was in there. And, like, she just went into this garden of roses, and then he was there. And
well, that part is so cool, because, well, it's not cool, it's sad, because Prim has died, and she thinks that the capital has done it, so she's going to Snow to kill him. She's going to go kill Snow.
He's like, I don't waste life.
Yeah, she's going to go kill Snow, and then Snow starts talking, and he's like, we have both been distracted with each other. So Coin used that. Yep. And has come into power, and he's the one that's like, well, it takes one to know one, basically. Yep,
basically. So he, like, tipped her off, and then she was, like, made the decision herself, which I think only she could have done. Yeah. And I think it was probably the best decision.
100%. I also think, too, though, that if Prim didn't die, I think Katniss would recognize what Coin is doing is wrong, but I think she would have just voted no and like gone back to 12 with her mom and her sister and just like okay, we're just gonna try to survive. But because Prim died, I think that kicked into gear how important it was for her to stop it. Because the whole point of the series was for her to save her sister. But because Coin was in power, the arena was still alive. And because the arena was still alive, no one's safe. Her sister wasn't safe. So she has to end it. Because the arena can't exist. And I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So this is to like kind of redeem Gale a little bit. Because I think a lot of people put Prim's death entirely on Gale, which I do think he is at fault. But I also think, rereading it, I recognize this, but Gale, she asks him, like, Gale, was that your bomb? And Gale responds with, I don't know. So Gale wasn't the one to hit, like, send. He did help create it, and he did want that to happen. That was his plan. He wanted, but he didn't mean for Prim to be there. He wanted the other capital people to be there. But I do think it is important to realize that Gale was just a product of the war.
Yeah.
And he was a product of someone else utilizing or abusing, however you want to view it, his talents. And then Coin was the one. Even though she knew her own people were going to be down there, because she knew Prim was going to be there. She knew Katniss was probably going to be there.
She wanted Katniss to die.
She did want Katniss to die. She said yes to it. So it was Coin was the one that sent the bombs off. I wouldn't say it was Gale that sent them off. A lot of people say that. I disagree. Just to redeem Gale a little bit.
I think also in the book, in the movie, I don't remember if this is right, but I remember Katniss being mad, so mad at Gale, and that's what eventually drove them apart.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, Katniss, like, can't afford to lose Gale. Even if, like, it's towards the ends of things, she knows that it was his, like, their creation that caused this, but she's able to let it go.
Yeah.
Like, she, like, can let it go.
She can't be with him, but...
Yeah. And so that part was interesting because it was like she wasn't like in a rage like I feel like I remember the movie was. Something that I did have, like, I wish I could like talk to Suzanne Collins about this, is after she kills Coin, which was like a good call.
Yeah.
Also because like Coin wanted her to die.
Yeah.
Because she knew Katniss
wouldn't against her.
Yeah. And Katniss has power. And, but it was like, after she killed Coin, they stick her up in this, like, bare room that she was in, like, before she'd get ready for the Hunger Games. And she's, like, trying to kill herself, basically. And I know that this is, like, a dark topic, but I never understand what makes her want to continue to live.
Katniss? This is a good question, isn't it?
Because,
and I think
like,
Katniss is questioning it herself.
Yeah, because, like, she, like, still lives. She, like, lets them, like, bring her back enough to take her to District 12. And then I think, like, Peeta coming back, like, him planting the primroses, I think may have helped. But, like, around the house. Because, like, she at first was, like, thought they were roses for, like, and so she was thinking about...
So she freaked out. PTSD.
Yeah.
Even though the war's over, she was brought back.
Yeah. And she, like, had to go up and, like, destroy the... rose that Snow left there forever ago. Yeah. Like a year before. But like I think Peeta was always like this hope for her, but until he like showed up.
It was a while before he showed up.
Yeah. They kept him a long time. And I just like never really understood why Katniss was still trying. Cause like if she wanted death. So that part I was like, I guess like it's realistic because it's like you're not really living, you're not really dying. Maybe you want to die, and like that's like kind of like what she's going through because she went through like horrible stuff, and she's like, well, now they don't know what to do with me. Same thing with Haymitch. Yeah. Like, but I did read that and been like, I wish like, I know it's not easy. Like in real life, you wouldn't have an answer. She probably was just like, well, I lived long enough to know that there was hope. Yeah. So that probably is just what it is. But I remember reading it and being like, I wish I had like a solid like. This is why I need to continue to live. Yeah. Because it's just sad.
That's a good question. I have a little theory about this. I almost wonder if Katniss, she's a survivor at her core. Yeah. And I wonder if that's just it. Like, Katniss, at her core, even though all these terrible things have happened, she's lost Prim, she still can't deny who she is as a survivor. So she has to keep going.
Yeah.
And even though it's a lesser quality of life, like, she basically described she never left her house. And was it Greasy May? What's her name? Greasy Say would come and, like, bring her food.
Oh my
and, like,
gosh.
make sure she had sustenance.
I bawled my eyes out.
And, like, change her clothes and different things like that.
When the cat showed up. She was, like, yelling. And then the cat treated her like Prim.
Yeah.
Because they would watch out for her like Prim would.
Because the cat recognized what happened. Also, the cat surviving.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
What the heck?
And, like,
Dude.
making it from District 13 back to 12.
Like, but I just remember reading that part and bawling because it was, like, Katniss being like, Prim's dead!
Yeah.
And, like, her whole reason for surviving was for her family, but now her mom is, like, instead of being, like, in her super depressive state she was when she lost her husband, which I feel like I can't judge her that harshly for.
Yeah.
She's now drowning it in work somewhere else to take care of people, and then Prim's gone. So, like, literally, yeah, Katniss has nothing of her past to really live for.
Yeah. So I think all she's doing is surviving, and it's not until Peeta comes back where the hope does start to come back and where she's able to actually live. Some people don't like she had kids in the end.
They don't like that?
Yeah, they don't like that. Well, because Katniss, her whole thing was
she never wanted to
have kids. Plus, can you imagine Katniss as a mother? No, I can't. I cannot imagine Katniss taking care of little children and having the patience for it.
Like, she's a caregiver with Prim.
Yeah, I can see Peeta as a father, but I can't necessarily see Katniss as a mother.
I can see it when her kids are older, but young.
Yeah.
Like they were.
Like, because I feel like with Prim, it was her sister, so she loves her sister, but it was also like we have to survive, and I have to take care of her, so there's that responsibility. I don't know if Katniss would have chosen to take on that responsibility. So I could see why people don't like it, but I also like the reason I liked that she had kids was because it showed that the world was different.
That's why I
liked
liked
it. We're not in a world with an arena anymore, so her kids aren't in danger for that. So just plot wise, I like it. Character-wise, if you just think about Katniss, I could see it. But plot-wise, I like that she added that in.
Yeah, I can see that argument, but for me, I liked it because I felt like it meant Katniss and Peeta were able to embody a hope that could live after.
And they, like, could do peace for long enough that they felt like it was okay for them to do.
Because, like, it comes to a point where, like, the first book, she never wants to have kids. Then you get to the second book, and it's like her, if they ran away and they had a different life, she would have kids. Like, I don't know if she had said that, but it was, like, alluding to, like, maybe I would.
Yeah.
But, like, not now.
Yeah.
And, like, not ever because of the world we live in. And I'm like, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, if I was her and I was in the Hunger Games and that went on for years, like, why would I bring my kids to be in a reaping? Like, that sounds like the most illogical thing ever.
Yeah.
So I liked it because I just felt like there was hope. But the thing is, at the end, Katniss still is like, I never know if I'm going to lose this. She's like, even at the end, she's like, I could lose all of this still. So she's just like, I feel like she just lives in all these moments because she's like, this could just be taken away from me. Because I've seen it and it's happened to me. So that's why I loved the ending of the book, because the ending of the book still made me feel like hopeless in a way. I still felt empty, but I think you're not supposed to feel this catharsis, I guess, at the end of a book, because that's not how, like, war is. I had watched this documentary called They Shall Not Grow Old that's directed by Peter Jackson, and it was, like, came out in 2018, and he took, like, archived World War I footage and, like, pictures that were just sitting for, like, 100 years and, like, brought them to life into a movie. And I, like, think it's so interesting because it's so sad because it's, like, talking about all the boys that never got to grow old because they died. But it's also talking about, like, how war had, like, moments that you would see with Katniss where, like, she could like eat a treat and like talk about stories, and there could be like some normalcy, but then like you would see the absolute destruction, or like how the tributes would be friends, and how like it talked about like the German prisoner of wars and how they would interact with the Americans and the UK soldiers, and how they were like friends and they would joke. But like they were, because of their situation, they were fighting against each other and they were killing each other. And then at the end of everything, people were like, how do you like you don't really ever come back. Nobody really knew what we went through. And you're going back to this life, not as if nothing happened, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, because you're a different person. And they just talked about how, like, as soldiers, they didn't really care who won. They just were glad it was over. Because it was so horrible. And, like, there was this line that I was thinking about from The Sun Also Rises. Have you read that?
No, but I need to.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's pretty depressing. And I'm curious how you like Hemingway's writing, but he's basically, his editor gave a term for Hemingway and all his like writing buddies at the time, because they all had like fought in World War I. Called them the lost generation, because they just, all of them had PTSD. They were all drinking. They all didn't know really what to do with their lives. They're wandering around aimlessly. There's this line he has a character say in the book where it's like, listen, going to another country doesn't make any difference. I've tried all that. You can get away from yourself by moving from one place to another. There's nothing like that. There's a lot of, you have to read in between the lines, but like a lot of these characters are just like trying to escape what they lived through and never being able to.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like the Hunger Games captured that aspect at the end, which I loved. And that's why I wish the movie did better with, because the movie, I think, is trying to give you more hope, because they just put you through a lot emotionally. But the thing is, the reason I loved how it ended was because you're supposed to feel those things, or at least like try to empathize with those feelings. Whereas in Hunger Games, it was like, there was a huge moment with Coin, and then it was like, I hate you, Gale, you did this. And then she ended up with Peeta, and then Peeta's recovery in the movie was different than the book, because Peeta still is not the same, but he's still like sane enough to be able to like be there for Katniss like he used to, in a way.
I think there are parts of him that the Capitol just couldn't erase.
Yeah.
Like who Peeta is at his core. But he still had to find it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which is so sad, because... But
then there were parts that they could take away from him.
I don't know if I could have been like Peeta. I think I would have been lost entirely and have gone crazy. Like, Finnick, Annie, they would, like, lose it.
Yeah.
Like, they would be, like, there, and then all of a sudden they're, like, he's, like, walking around without his rope.
I know.
You're just like, what is happening? So it just, like, did a good job of showing, like the spectrum of how people were responding to trauma. And I'm curious how much research she had done doing that, because like war victims,
like seeing it in real life.
Yeah.
With her dad and her grandfather and stuff like
dad.
that. I wonder if she witnessed it too.
And like, I was going to say, because I just thought they did a really good job at the ending, and I wish the movie captured that emptiness, because I feel like it's important.
Oh, it is so important. I like, along those lines, this is before the epilogue. I love how she ends it.
Yes.
She says, Peeta and I grow back together. There's still moments where he clutches the back of a chair and hangs on until the flashbacks are over. I wake screaming from the nightmares of Mutts and lost children, but his arms are there to comfort me, and eventually his lips. One night I feel that thing again, the hunger that overtook me on the beach. I know this would have happened anyway, that what I need to survive is not Gale's fire, kindled with rage and hatred. I have plenty of fire myself. What I need is the dandelion in the spring.
The bright yellow, that means rebirth.
I'm gonna cry.
I quoted this because I was gonna talk about it.
It's so sad.
Oh, it is so sad.
Can you read it?
Yes, I have it on my computer too.
I don't know why that hit me so hard.
She had said that she needed the dandelion in the spring, the bright yellow that means rebirth instead of destruction, the promise that life can go on no matter how bad our loss is, that it can be good again. Peeta has always been this hope for Katniss. That is a line I said. That is not from the book. But it is just, we can also pause. It's so good. It's so good. Beginning. He like gave her life. Like, he gave her bread. Hey, you can take it. It's your book.
I have more things I want to say. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, you're good. But then it, like, continues on to, like, that's so so good because then it's just like, and it ends with like, him just like asking like, you love me? And
Real or not real?
Yes, and she's like, real. Because like I think it took her a long time to realize, and she didn't have to go like over and like gush about it. Like Collins, I liked how she didn't do that, but at the same time, like I always feel like books really build to this like confession, but it was like she realized she loved Peeta this whole time.
Yeah.
Like she like so much so that she would go berserk if anything happened to Peeta. Or
Literally.
like she literally would like lose all sense of care for herself for Peeta.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, girl, that's love. Like that is like the romantic love, and you want him to hold you, and like he makes you believe.
Yeah.
And like at the very, like I think it's just so sweet that when she was 11 and starving, he like literally gave her like the bread of life.
And the next day she saw the dandelion at the school.
Yes.
And like that's how she like
She
bread
knew.
gave her the sustenance, but then she saw the dandelion,
Which gave her
and
hope.
that's what gave her hope. So that I'm shocked. I forgot to say this, but the other major theme that I love about this book is hope.
Yes.
Because in the first book, after this is something that happens in the movie that doesn't happen in the book that I wish happened in the book.
Oh.
It's when Snow and the game maker, what's his name from the first book?
Oh.
What's his name?
Seneca.
Seneca Crane.
Uh-huh.
They're having this conversation within the roses. He's talking about hope. And Snow has this line where he's like, a little bit of hope is good. You can use that against people. But the reason you have a victor is because the reason to have games and people to be okay with the games is because there's a little bit of hope that someone will win. If you just kill everybody, no one's going to want to watch that because there's no hope at all.
That was the other thing too, is like they talk about that because the Capitals love the victors. And so when Snow put everybody in, that was when he started losing the Capitol. Was because like he literally made it harder for himself.
Yeah. But if you have too much hope, then that is bad. Then it becomes a weapon against him. And I think, so then when Peeta and Katniss, like that moment started a revolution for people is because they started to get a lot of hope. And I think the reason this hit me so hard when I started crying was because I feel like Katniss throughout the whole book, I'm going to cry again. She has no hope at all.
Yeah.
From page 1.
She's trying to get through the day.
She is literally just surviving. She has no hope at all, no nothing. Even when the war is over, Prim is dead. And so, like, all of her hope is just gone. And I think the reason Peeta is so important as a character is because he shows that hope is not just a weapon. Because I think that's what she's been conditioned to think. Like, if I have hope, that's going to be used against me. And also, I don't think she had the capability to love. Because
Romantic love.
romantic love. Well, because that's what Snow did. The ones you love the most
Leave.
Well, no, what does Snow say at the end? He says the ones you love most are the ones that can be used against you the most or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He took Peeta, her hope, destroyed it,
But the thing is,
and used it against her as a weapon.
he wanted her to convince him that she loved Peeta.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah.
He already
was
knew.
using that against her.
Yeah. And, like, that's, like, which is so sad.
That's how he knew he could control her.
But, like, I just love that in how they say it at the end of the book is, like, the dandelions wasn't hope. It was rebirth.
Yeah.
I thought that I loved. And I was like, that is hope, but hope in a different way because it shows that, like, things that, like, are completely ashes can come back.
Yeah.
And, like...
Because life can feel so hopeless. Like,
Yes.
In real life, even, like, in the Hunger Games, yes.
Yeah.
But even in real life, I think a lot of times it's really easy to think, like, this is horrible, so there's no hope. And so, like, you don't want to hope for things, because then you'll just be disappointed. But, like, you do need it to keep going.
Yeah. I also think, like, it truly takes a special kind of person to be able to live in a horrible world, but still find things to be hopeful about, like Peeta.
Yeah.
Despite everything, like, he's like, we're going to train super hard for this. And we're going to work really, and then we're going to, and whatever happens is what we're going to do. And I just am like, that's so, I think those kinds of people are, like, so important. And it's a different kind of survivor.
Yeah,
like,
it
Katniss is like, I need to just survive the day. Whereas I feel like having hope is a different kind of way to survive. And one that Peeta shows is sustainable.
Yeah. And she needed that. I think Gale was, like, again, he has fire and hatred. So hope in a different way, but it's almost like hope used as a weapon.
Yeah.
Versus Peeta's is not hope. His hope isn't a weapon. It's how to survive.
Yeah. I
It's
love
a
it.
survival skill.
So good.
And then you just got the very, very end. But there were worse games to play. I love how she ended that. Like, I'll tell them how I survive it. I'll tell them this about her kids. I'll tell them that on bad mornings, it feels impossible to take pleasure in anything because I'm afraid it could be taken away. That's what you talked about before. That's when I make a list in my head of every act of goodness I've seen someone do. It's like a game, repetitive, even a little tedious after more than 20 years, but there are much worse games to play. I think that's just a great ending. Because, she is bringing back the, you never leave the arena. You never leave the war after you've been in it. But, like, you keep going.
Yep.
And there is a way to keep going.
Yep.
Even though sometimes it's hard to see.
You have to have a Peeta.
You do have to have a Peeta.
Because otherwise, you're a Haymitch.
Oh, poor Haymitch. Okay, you have to read this new book.
I know.
It makes... another reason I got really emotional was adding on Haymitch's end to it, too. It's just like another stab to the heart.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I do need to read it. I really like Haymitch, but they do a good job showing Katniss's relationship with him. Like, I would be so annoyed with him.
I know, literally.
I would be like, oh my gosh, like, you withheld this information. Also, the way he talks to her sometimes.
Yeah. But Katniss also recognizes that she's not the best human being either.
No. But I just, like, she did a good job.
She did a good job.
She's so good with these characters. Prim was so great, too. Also, that's the other thing, too. Prim's character was incredible. Like, she was, like, this innocence that, like, Katniss was like, no. Like, she can't go into the games.
Yeah.
I want to, like, preserve whatever she has of this life and whatever she can see of the goodness of life that goes and looks at the cakes. Like, I need that to stay. I will go.
Yeah.
And then to the Prim that's in the bunker of District 13 who can understand this kind of stuff. Who then Katniss can start talking to after her nightmares instead of hiding her nightmares from them.
She can go and see all of the horrible things that people have gone through and their injuries and help them.
And what's crazy, Prim wasn't even 14 yet when she died.
I know. She's so little.
She wasn't even 14, but she, like, clearly, like, Katniss couldn't protect her. But it was good because Prim didn't need that. Like, Prim was able to, like, patch people up and, like, understand, like, how to empathize with people. She was able to, like, talk through, like, Katniss's nightmares with her. And, like, how it, like, things that she can do. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, and Katniss realized, like, Prim had, like, learned how to grow up. Yeah. And she was still hopeful, which is so sad.
I know. But she, just because of that doesn't mean she's safe, which is so heartbreaking. Yeah. Because it's true.
Yeah. Like, she went to go save little kids. And she is a kid.
And she is a kid.
And the fact that they even had her there.
Right?
I'm like, Coin had to have done that.
100%.
Like, that's so horrible. It's just so sad.
The other reason that I think if you haven't read the newest Hunger Games book, you should really read it, is I think it makes Katniss's character stronger too. Is this isn't necessarily a spoiler, but Haymitch basically, he could have been the person to start the revolution. Yeah. But he failed. So, like, why did it work with Katniss though? And I think you start to, I think then it makes Katniss's character a lot stronger, and all of the, like, everything had to fall into place perfectly for it to be successful. So it's like, it's back to the just war theory. Like, if a revolution is going to start or a war is going to start, you have to have all of the aspects of it.
Yeah. Yep, you have to have all your ducks in line.
And they had to have Katniss. Mm-hmm. If they didn't have Katniss, it wouldn't have started. Couldn't be me. No, thank you.
No. And I just love how, like, she didn't even know why they did the berries. She was like, I don't know if it was out of, like, the fact that I didn't want to lose Peeta. Like, I didn't want to have to, like, live without him. Or it was, like, I was mad at the Capitol. Or I just wanted to, like, survive. Or, like, at least not be a pawn. She didn't know what it was. But the thing is, Peeta knew. He knew what it was for it. But Katniss, like, I think that was, like, important that, like, Katniss, I think part of the reason Peeta came out so, not, like, he got messed up by the Capitol, but I think the reason he was able to recover was because he knew himself. Yeah. Katniss has to figure out who she is, like, beyond a survivor, a caretaker, a hunter. Like, she can be all those things, but I think Katniss, like, had so many things going in her head for survival that, like, she had to figure that out. Whereas, like, Peeta, he kind of, like, knew who he was. But I think that's also why the Capitol was able to get away with what they did, because so much of him was, like, his love for Katniss. So they were, like, they were like, okay, we know that this is true, so we can mess with that. I think it's, so good.
I think is the last review. The first book, I think she is a setup book. She's introducing it all. The second one was my favorite. And the third one, I think, was the most important one out of the three. Yeah. If I'm to rate all three books.
They were all great. They were all so good. It moved by pretty fast. I love her descriptive language. Also, like, some books, they have people meander through their memories a lot, and I don't really understand why. I always understood why we were getting, like, a flashback with Katniss.
I feel like this is the type of book where you have to question why the drapes are yellow, or whatever the saying is, or the door is red. I think this is the series to find out why the door is red.
Like, there's a reason for that. Like, gold and yellow and how those, like, themes are used. So good. Anyways, also, like, I love how she uses music and song to, like, it's just so good.
Because that's all 12 had, was music. Plutarch was really, you find this out in the newest one, but Plutarch, even within the Capitol, was the only one that had books. Like, reading and literature just wasn't a thing in the Capitol. Or just, like, in Panem. Like, no one read. But 12 was so strong is because they had music.
And the thing is, music carries stories. And it's easy to remember.
Yes.
Which is why Katniss was able to remember these songs.
And why Katniss's dad had to be her dad. Because he introduced this music to her.
Yep. He couldn't be the baker.
Nope, he couldn't be the baker. He had to be the covey.
Yep. Which I
or
will
the
learn
descendant
more about
of a covey. I don't remember which.
I don't know. But I just think, it's so cute. And then she teaches her kids.
I know.
And it is a dark song. Oh my gosh, when I read that part when she was explaining the song and why her mom didn't want her to sing it.
The hanging tree?
And then her realizing, like, that's kind of how it felt like with Gale. Like, Gale was like, come, like, die with me kind of a thing. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. I got, like, spooked. I was, like, reading it at nighttime. I was like, this is kind of spooky. But I didn't think that, I thought that was a movie thing. So when I read the book, I was like, I was like, oh my gosh.
I know.
They did a good job in the movie.
Sometimes I think authors will write novellas or prequels, and I never really understand the purpose of it. I understand, she is very clear about the purpose of her prequels, though. And even though I didn't love The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it is important to know the story because of the music.
Yeah.
And the music and how it alters the story. And then Haymitch just has a ton of other things that I won't go into for the purpose of the original series.
Yeah. So we're listening to, like, we have, like, specific scenes from, like, books and that we're adapted to movies that we'll listen to. Like, we'll listen to, like, Lord of the Rings. Like, it's so good. When Théoden's giving his speech and then, like, the music itself is so good, but you have to listen because it's like, you have, this is what I think gets me, is when people like, I know that there's, like, hope, but they go even though they know they're going to die.
Yeah.
And they're not going to see the hope that they're hoping for in the future. And
their cause is so important to them that it doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. And so, like, in Lord of the Rings, you have, like, Rohan that's, like, we're probably going to die.
Yep.
But
they thought they were all going to die.
Yeah, they scream death, which is crazy. And so they're on horses screaming death while the orcs are, like... They get scared.
Yeah.
And it's like this ray of hope. And then, so, like, we're listening to, like, these different parts in movies, and we listen to the one in Hunger Games. And it's like Katniss is singing Tree song, and then it bleeds, and, like, slowly you hear, like, a bunch of other people sing this song. But it's symbolic because it's showing, like, they all are going to, like, go to the hanging tree kind of a thing. Like, they all, like, they know they're going to die. But it's just, like, so powerful when you hear them all sing it. And,
okay,
like,
I have to share this. This is a Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes spoiler, but I have to say it because it's so cool. So Lucy Gray wrote the song. And the song, she wrote it for Snow. So her and Coriolanus Snow were supposed to escape and go off. They just say north. People speculate it's District 13.
Which is symbolic because it's at the lake where Katniss learned that song with her dad.
And Lucy Gray wrote it for Coriolanus Snow to meet at the hanging tree, which was a real thing. And then she passed that song along within the covey. And then eventually the song that was meant for him to leave and escape with his love becomes the song that haunts him in the end. Like, Lucy Gray just does not leave him. He is haunted by her forever, and he deserves it.
Which I think is cool because Katniss... Like,
and the Mockingjay symbol, too. Like, that is a symbol from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. There are moments where he's like, I hate Mockingjays, I hate Mockingjays, I hate Mockingjays. And that's the symbol of the revolution.
Well, because, like, this is probably a spoiler. I already know a little bit enough about this.
It's okay.
But I just know that Snow chose power over Lucy.
Yep.
But the thing is, Lucy did move him.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
But he chose power instead.
Yeah, I would say he wasn't a good person necessarily throughout the story, but I would say he didn't really become a villain until the end when Lucy Gray recognizes the evil within him and she's like, I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to leave. So then he lets his evilness just take over.
And then he tries to kill her, right? He tries to shoot her.
Yeah, he tries to shoot her. And, she sets off the Mockingjays. So the Mockingjays start singing. So he's just shooting everywhere. He's trying to kill the Mockingjays. And then he is like, basically is like, Lucy Gray, she's evil. So I'm going to go and it's a whole thing. I won't go into it. There's a lot of betrayal that he does. And he just takes advantage of everybody. Everybody he screwed over, he took advantage of them to get power and then get to where he was in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, crazy. But I just love how Collins uses music and, like, I don't know, lyrical things throughout the story as, like, a symbol.
Every song in there started from Lucy Gray.
So good. The song for Rue. Oh no, the song she teaches her kids isn't the Hanging Tree one. It's the other
it's the
song.
One she sang to Rue. Oops.
Yeah, it's the song she sang to Rue, which I was bawling while she was doing that because it's like talking about the hope for the next day because Rue's gonna be dead.
I know. I'm just gonna read it. I'm not gonna sing it. You don't want me to sing. Deep in the meadow, under the willow, a bed. It's a song that his repurposed and is now hopeful for her instead of like within the arena.
It's not like death you're waking up to, but like life. It's so good.
A bed of grass, a soft green pillow, lay down your head and close your sleepy eyes, and when they open again, the sun will rise. And it will for her children. They did it for Rue.
Yeah.
Here it's safe, here it's warm, here the daisies guard you from harm. Here your dreams are sweet and tomorrow brings them true. Here's a place where I love you. It's so cute.
I know. Man, I have cried. There are specific places I cried in the book. It was never like I think I cried like when she was singing that song to Rue, but then I cried when she was the aftermath.
Yeah,
of like
that's when I always cried.
Like her having to like grapple with her grief. And yeah, every time I cried, it was always Katniss like, because she has to like keep moving. So she like does what she can in the moment, but then like when she's in a period of rest, that's when it's like horrible.
Yeah.
Because like, she has to deal with what happened.
That's another thing I love Susan Collins did versus, like, other authors. Because I would say the average fantasy book has horrific things. Like, even Harry Potter. Harry went through crazy stuff. But I feel like in those books, the events happen. And that's about it. Like, they happen and there's no, like, looking into after.
It's more behavioral that you see than them...
Like how did it affect them actually? I love that she put that in there. It wasn't like, oh, Rue died. Okay, now I have to go. I have to keep going. No, it really affected her.
There was that, and then like when Prim died, like I didn't cry when Prim died. Like it was horrible, and she like watched it happen. I didn't cry until she was crying with the cat, and she was like, "Leave, Prim's not here." And then the fact that she like. The cat treats her like Prim after that.
Even though she hates the cat.
But after that, she was so glad she had the cat. And then Peeta came back. So cute.
But even the fact that Prim Rose is a rose.
Yeah.
And reminds her of Snow, but also her sister. I thought that was interesting,
Clever.
too.
Yeah.
Just to grapple with both. It's just so good. I hope these videos weren't too long.
They probably were, but
I hope you guys liked it.
I enjoyed it.
I could keep going.
I was going to say we almost ended this like 5 different times.
We did, but then we thought of something else and then just kept it going.
I know.
And I could keep it going even more, but
I like that quote about Peeta though being like the hope. I put that in here, so if you didn't say it, I would have because that was important. So it was good to bring that up.
It is important. There's so many things. We could have gone book by book if we really wanted to.
Yeah, we could have done like 3 parts.
We could have. It's okay.
It kind of already is like 3 parts in 2, but it's fine.
But now Lauren will go read the newest one and she'll let you know.
Yeah. I'll talk about it in our next podcast because it'll probably be one of the books I've recently read.
Hopefully soon. It doesn't have to be that soon. But I think it should be soon.
One of the episodes. We shall find out. I should probably take a break.
That's fair.
These books wrecked me.
When I was rereading them, I reread the first book. It took me a couple days. The second book took me 1 day. It was 2 sittings, but I read it in 1 day. Like, as soon as they get into the games, I just couldn't stop. But then the third book took me a couple weeks. I went through it really slowly because just the emotional, like, baggage of it, I had to take it in parts.
Yeah.
So that's when you were like, oh, I can read it in a month. I just thought about how long it took me to read the third book.
I read it in a week.
Which is very impressive. Because it took me a lot longer.
I would have dragged it out with the third book if I could have.
Yeah.
The first book took me 2 days. And then the second book, I almost read in 1 sitting. Yeah. But the thing is, I literally had like 30 pages left, but I like fell asleep.
That's okay.
So then I finished it, and then I started Mockingjay. And then Mockingjay took me 3 days, I think.
Because it's just a heavier... Ugh. It just took a lot. So it's okay if you need a break.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I'm going to read something happy and then that I can just escape into and then probably jump back. Because these books are so important to read clearly because you could like talk so long about them and make it relevant to real life. Like you were saying, like you can see like censorship today and how that's really scary.
Yeah.
And like how you need to know what's real and what's not real on both sides. Because like clearly... both the rebellion...
Capital and the rebellion, were
having issues.
So... they had their own narrative they wanted to craft and tell people.
And, like, are you a pawn in the game?
Exactly.
Are we pawns in the game?
Good job. That should be the title.
Are we pawns? Anyways, thank you guys so much. Callie, thank you so much for, like, leading us through that.
Yeah, I hope I didn't ramble too much.
And telling me to read this book. Seriously.
Yes.
It changed my life.
It is. I also think they're just good books, too. At the end of the day, I think they're also just good.
Yeah.
Like, well-written.
Yeah.
Engaging. Even if, like, the content, you're like, okay, I think they're just good. Solid reads.
I think so, too.
Anyways, we will see you in our next one. We're reading Dune, right? Did we decide Dune?
I totally forgot. We're reading Dune.
We want to do sci-fi, but we couldn't really decide what to read.
Yeah.
Are we going to do Dune?
Yes.
I want to do it because I want to talk about the movie.
Let's read Dune, you guys. Let's do it. I haven't read it and I need to, so.
I think you'll like it.
I think I will too. It's on my list of the many things.
Yeah.
So.
I'll talk about my review in the thing, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I also like talking about the movies too.
Yeah.
We can make it an adaptation.
I like it.
Because sci-fi and adaptation. Because, anyways.
And is sci-fi just fantasy?
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of talk about that too. People are like, Star Wars is a fantasy. And everyone's like, what? I don't know how that works, but we need to figure that out.
I'm on the side of Star Wars. It's just fantasy. But I'll say, I have my own... I get the arguments. That's just my personal opinion.
Like, it has motifs of sci-fi, but I think the overall...
I'm a snob.
Genre... But the overall genre, it fits more into fantasy than it does sci-fi.
Yeah. But we'll get into that later. Anyways. Long story short, I'm a snob and I have thoughts.
Yay! To be
right.
continued.
Bye.
Bye.
I need to go to the bathroom so bad.
Same. I'm gonna go upstairs. And my computer died, so this is